Well, hello, my Mary Grove comrades and students. My name's Joe Kasai. This is my little YouTube screencast of my lesson. I'm a science teacher, so I do a lot of incorporation of all the subjects, including reading, writing, and all that. But this particular lesson was on the rock cycle because we're also tapping into with GAIPA differentiated instruction, and while the rock cycle has, well, all my lessons do a lot of differentiated instruction just naturally with science because of all the hands-on and different multiple intelligence levels. So going into it, this is a YouTube video that I used for an introduction to help get discussion and to gain a little background knowledge. Um, this YouTube video goes on and explain in kid-friendly and hands-on, and they just use a lot of key terms and locations to give background knowledge to the kids. So they have a little bit of a background knowledge of what the rock cycle is all about. Um, so after this YouTube video would be done, we'd give about 5 minutes of reflection of talking about what's going on with the YouTube video. And then we do a little bit of a graphic organizer, similar to what they just showed on the YouTube clip, how the three different stages of the rock cycle can go interchangeably to each other: sedimentary to igneous to metamorphic, metamorphic to igneous, igneous to sedimentary, sedimentary, metamorphic, blah 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 blah. So, so that gives them a little bit of a cheat sheet and guideline. So they use this like little graphic organizer that, like I said, is similar to how he had it up on the screen. Um, with sedimentary, igneous, and metamorphic. So they were able to see how they can go from each one. And then going into that, we have 4 stations of labs. Uh, the stations are, I kind of have an understanding of all the different personality characteristics of the different students. I tier them out as the year goes on to see who's at what kind of level, who is more kinesthetic, who's more audiovisual. So I kind of tier them out in that way. I try to get a little bit of a balance of two of different multiple intelligences if we're going to go that route into each group. I try not to lump them all of the same type in one group because I want them to be able to interact with each other and to develop skills and learn from each other and learn different styles that other students do. It helps with the peer-to-peer education process with it all. So this is group one. Group one, I will start off with my audio visuals, and this is computer interactive. I got 10 Chromebooks. So the first station would be with this, where they can work with each other, and this interactive gives a step-by-step process of it all. So it also allows um, I'm sick. The readers and they can read to each other, so the listeners also, and it gives all these different interactives. So you just go through the process, and then so there's little games and everything, and they're able to assess each other at the end once they work their way through it with Hester skills. So they just work your way through it, and yes. Um, and then station two will be about a dozen different rocks, and there'll be all these different rocks just laying around all over on this table, just scattered about with little number tags on them, and they'll have to use different methods of physical characteristics assessing to try and link what characteristic matches up to what type of rock this may be. So they're trying to identify what type of rock it is. The third station has to do with clay, and I got all these clay bars. There's a yellow clay bar, there's a blue clay bar, a green clay bar, and uh, purple clay bar, and they have to squish them all together, and that's supposed to represent metamorphism. So they're able to see all the different layering of the rock, and then they have to peel them all apart again, and that represents weathering and erosion through sedimentary. So they're all getting separated and working out because depending on the types of rock and granule size, weathering and erosion has a different timeline based on that. And then they take little pieces of each of them and they put them on a pie pan and put them on a hot plate. And we turn the hot plate on and we cook them. And that represents the igneous rock. And so there's all these checkpoints and interactive, or not, their science journal that they fill out everything. And then the fourth station is they build a mountain on their pie pan, and they actually mix it with soil, sand, gravel, and wood chips, and they build this big towering mountain up, mixed all together, and in the pie pan, and then they measure from the edge of the pie pan to the base of the mountain to see what the gap is, and then the pie pan all the way to the top of the mountain, and they measure that as well, and then they measure the diameter of it, and then we slowly pour the water on the top of it to represent erosion and weathering, and then we do remeasurements of everything, and all of this is being recorded. They're recording different observations. At each station, they're responsible for recording all of their information, getting key terms, writing in their test selections, taking notes, noting physical characteristics, noting chemical interaction, or not chemical, that's in the next lab, that's next week. So physical characteristics, and yes, so that's my differentiated instruction lesson with the rock cycle. This takes about 2 days. So the first day, lab stations 1 and